All right. Welcome back to Psych Your Way to Success. I am your host, Claire Bike. With me, as always, is
Heather Fife.
yes. And today we're pretty excited. Laughing already a little bit on my part. And I'm like, out of the blue, I decided to throw out the idea of let's take a step back from maybe IO Psych. Maybe we can, pull it apart later. I don't know. But let's talk about our funniest moments at work. I have had my fair share of multiple jobs in my lifetime. I probably, Heather, you probably haven't, you've probably been pretty consistent in your lifetime. Hey. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have. Yeah.
I
I am
definitely.
the jack of all trades and a master of none. So I am like, except for now, I technically have a master's degree. So what? I'm a master of
Whoop,
one.
whoop, whoop.
Um,
Yeah, that's funny. That's good.
hey, thanks.
I
I'm here
like
all
that
day,
a
folks.
lot.
Yeah. Tip your bartenders because I've done that job too.
Oh,
Um,
that's funny.
I know.
I've
I
never
can tell
done
you.
that. I always wanted to be a bartender, actually.
You know, every time I say that, I always have the person tell me, "Oh my god, I always wanted to do that job." And I'm like, "Then why didn't you? We needed help." I'm like, I'm like, "Please come help." And I not that I'm not a great people person, but I have a low tolerance.
Oh, how funny.
But the great thing is when you're a bartender, you kind of have a little bit of the power.
Yeah.
So you could say things and there was always just like, okay, I'll wait to get into it. Anyway, so I'm going to ask you, Heather, we're going to get you to lead off because we both probably have a ton of stories. And with the experience that we've had, um, I'm really kind of interested to hear what you have to say. So, leadership or not, what are kind of some of the funny stories that you have?
Well, we'll start off a little bit like tame.
Ooh, okay, fine. No.
I mean, if you're asking me to go
No, no,
first,
no. Let's
I will
start tame. Let's
definitely.
start tame.
I'm
We'll
like,
work up.
yeah, right? Okay, so one thing that I think is interesting about working is, especially I worked for an
Wait,
international and
what's interesting about working in general or working
working
in
in
an in?
general, but
Oh,
I will say I worked at an international investment firm for 10 years. And so
holy
you
cow.
got all kinds of different people and you were interacting with different people all the time. And we were located in Brazil, Germany, London, and well, California. Like, and so like we would get like different people to come in. And there was this one girl who was Austrian and she was working for us. And she was working for us mainly because, not mainly, but one of the perks of her was that she spoke German.
Awesome.
And
That tracks.
it right. And so like, I had to work a lot with her. We worked side by side a ton. And one day she was eating an apple and we're like working there and because it was long hours, so you kind of were just eating while you were working.
Oh, totally. Yep, been
And
there.
so she's eating the apple and ate the whole thing.
Like the
The
entire thing or you mean
entire
like
thing.
okay,
Everything.
wait. Like what do you mean? No.
Like the
What?
seed, the core, the everything, 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 everything. And I was just like, we're in the middle of this super important thing. And like, I'm kind of watching her. And then all of a sudden, she like the whole core. And I was like, what? And I started laughing hysterically. I'm like, did you just eat that whole apple? Like core and all? And she was like in her accent, she was like, yeah, don't you? And I was
Like
just like, no, I've never seen that before. And it was like for 20 minutes, I couldn't get off of it. But I thought it was like so funny how like the differences in cultures and things. And I don't know if
yeah,
that's an Austrian thing or if that was like just her thing.
right. No.
And I've never really seen anybody else do that before. But she's like, you can eat the whole thing. Anyway, that was one of my funny moments. Like we were in the middle of this like really important thing. And I'm like, just started
Wait,
laughing.
what?
And
Yeah, that
yeah.
would be so I challenge anybody out there, like, how do you eat your apples, I
Yeah.
suppose? Like,
I'm so curious. Like, I've
is
never
that
seen it since.
is that commonplace? And if so, where? That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. That's really interesting. So no, I myself have not ever seen that. So not that that gives you complete validation. It doesn't shame her, but I would be interested to know more. I would
Yeah.
absolutely be interested to know more. That's great. That's great. Man, I don't know if I know how to start tame. That does seem to go on par
It's
with
okay.
me.
You don't need to start tame. I just thought I would just throw that
No,
out
I
there.
love that.
My next
I
story
love
is
that.
definitely not tame.
Yes. Yeah. I think when I worked at a call center for a unnamed, not going to name names, cell phone company, um, one of the jobs that my friend did have to do was at one point they had an HR issue with a person who would put their foot up. So we would be in this area that was all cubicles, right? It was a land of cubicles. It was a warehouse of cubicles. And you could stand up and it was almost like meerkats, right? Like you would pop up and you would just see people's heads from their chest up because that's where it would stop. But we could see all over the lands of many other departments and many other people. Anyway, so this person would stand up often while on a call with a person, and they would put their foot up on their chair. And in this moment is when most people had to make complaints to human resources about how they could see directly through the shorts of this person and see yeah, so you can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
See directly into um everything that they had going on because they unfortunately were not secured or covered all the way through. So, in other words, they were not wearing underwear. Um, yeah. So my friend had to yeah, have a conversation with HR about how they were now going to have to mandate that this person come fully clothed to work. And this is years, like decades ago. So please understand, like maybe the conversations were not as, polite, PC, or tactful. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of my first experiences of being like, oh God, that's happening at my job. Like, like,
Oh
yes.
my gosh,
Yeah.
that is so good.
Yeah. I just don't like HR, those HR moments are always so much fun.
They're
Yes.
fascinating because
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you would never think of. Like I
Yeah.
like that incident, like I've never seen that, but
No.
like and I mean hopefully never will, but they happen. And it's just so I think that's why HR actually is a fascinating job
Yeah.
because it's like you don't know what you're gonna get.
You
Like
don't.
literally.
Well,
It
and
is
it's funny
so
because like you'll
wild.
see episodes where that's the case. Like somebody's like, "Oh," or like it was even on Ted Lasso.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds like a
it was.
Seinfeld episode even.
Oh, 100%. Like I will not mince words when it comes to the fact that like working at that call center, and anybody out there, shout out to you guys if you work in a call center. Holy crap, one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, other than being a parent. Um, just because it's a cog. You're a cog in a wheel, like, and you're a number, and oftentimes they dehumanize that you and your role. But anyway, so I digress again. Yeah, so definitely thank you for doing that job. I'm pretty sure my ADD did not allow me to finish that thought. I don't even know where I was going. So please continue, Heather.
Okay, well, this is a good segue into my next
Hmm.
incident. So it's actually the opposite of yours. So, um, I will
Too
say,
many clothes?
well,
Oh,
let me tell you.
okay. I'm stopping. Yep.
Okay, so it was my boss's like 50th or 60th birthday. I don't even remember, right? Okay, also, this was over 20 years ago. So like
Okay, so
different
same
time.
story.
different
time.
place. Like it just is
Sure.
like, so I would say this is not appropriate in today's world.
Okay. Perfect. Yes. Good segue.
So it was his 50th or 60th birthday, and like we thought it was a good idea to hire a stripper
Oh my
to
gosh.
interview for a job. And you know what? Like, and just to be funny about it, you know what I mean? Like, so
Wait, did
exactly.
this
So
person know you were being funny?
the stripper?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I told
Oh,
her what
okay.
I.
So
Oh no,
this
no, no, no.
person's in on the deal. Okay.
Oh, 100%. I told her what was happening. I told her, like, don't take off all your clothes. Like, basically, like, I will pay you more than you deserve. Or, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'll tip and not deserve, but like, like, it's
More
not
than
like
you
a full
charge.
show. Yeah.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, I was like, the thing is just to get him really uncomfortable because he was like
Oh,
super
absolutely.
uptight and like da da da, like
Yep.
um and so like and I got it like it was like I can't remember whose idea it was, but it was like the executive team thought this was a funny idea.
Of course
So,
they did.
right? And so I
Did
put
it
him
have an
in.
HR department? Okay, sorry, continue. Yes,
No,
yes. I'm
exactly.
listening.
So I put him in the conference room, which all of these signs should have been like, wait, what's happening? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but you're so busy at work, or he was so busy, and we were all so busy that it wasn't like it was a weird thing, but it wasn't a weird thing. So I put him in a conference room with windows and I put his back to the windows so we could all watch this. And
Oh my God.
I take her into the room and I have her sitting first in like a spot where she's facing us in the windows. And I have the resume in the spot where I want him to sit.
Oh my goodness.
So all of a sudden, like, so he's interviewing her and I had given her the resume. So she knew who she was, you know what I mean? The role.
Mhm. Oh
And so
no.
he starts interviewing her. And in the middle of the interview, she's like, "It is really hot in here.
Oh, of
Do you mind if
course.
I take off my sweater?" So
Oh
she
my
takes off her
gosh.
sweater and he's like, "No problem." And then I get like, or then his administrative assistant gets this call and is like, "Hey, it's really hot in the conference room. Can you please turn the air conditioning on?" So
Oh,
we
this is
turn,
just getting worse and
it's
worse.
so bad.
Yes.
So then we turn the heat up, you
Of course.
know?
Yep.
So then she was like, and then he's asking her more questions. He's taking this seriously. And I was like, high accolades for this girl. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
Yes.
he's like really taking my accolades into consideration. And it's just like, well, Heather really likes this person. She must be amazing. Right. And so then she's like, I am so sorry, but it is really hot in here.
Oh
Do you mind if I
no.
take off anyway, it gets to a point where it's not necessarily bad, but it was to the point where he was afraid it was going to get worse,
Oh yeah.
and he just like, and that's when he realized like what is going on.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I think
And we
that's
were,
good. Yep.
yeah. He's like, I don't like.
That's
Anyway, that is
hilarious.
my like, and I thought that was such a great moment because he took the joke, he loved it. Like, what do you get your boss of who's like
Probably
can
got
get
everything.
anything,
Yeah.
And that is like such a funny present because he'll remember it for the rest of his life. It's
Mhm.
funny. I talk about it all the time because it was just one of those funny things.
Yep.
That's it.
So, speaking of birthdays, that really triggered a memory for me. One of the I worked down in Texas for a little bit. I was a bartender, a server, and ended up becoming a manager at this location. Undisclosed, not allowed to talk about it. But the people I worked with were absolutely phenomenal. I really appreciated them. I had some of the best moments of my life and the worst moments of my life that I had to reevaluate the person I was, that type of job, like in order to become the person I wanted to be. Right. Like it was a full transition, life altering moment. Either way. So, in this process, I got to meet some of like people that I'm still incredibly loyal to as friends. And one of them was another manager, and we'll call him Chris. So Chris was having a birthday, and he was one of my best guy friends, like still to this day, hands down, cool as a cucumber, great guy. Um, he also was like, loved to joke, loved to laugh, loved to have a good time. And it was his birthday, and him and I were both closing that night. So we were going to be working until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever, our bar closed. It was one of those martini bars, 2 stories, top floor, bottom floor. And we did
Oh,
great
how fun.
during happy hour. And then we turned in basically, I don't know how or when it happened, but because we were a university town, we ended up turning into a nightclub at night, and we would have a line wrapped out like our front door quite often. So we'd have bouncers, we'd have front door guys, we ended up getting DJs. So anyway, we start this, I think it was a Friday or Saturday night, and leading up to it, I had contacted every single bartender, every single server, and said, here's the deal. If you're working Friday night, here's what's going on. You have to keep this a secret. Go out and buy a little Nerf gun and all of the ammo you want, as much ammo as you want. The deal is that this person, as we call him Chris, he's going to get a very big Nerf gun, and I'll provide him ammo. That's his gift from me. He's going to open it up at work. We're going to like do, hey, happy birthday, here's your present. And then it'll be this Nerf gun. And then the moment he opens it, it will be game on for the rest of the evening. And
Oh,
so
how fun.
yeah, we ended up having this full bar, full restaurant, Nerf gun war. Like,
How fun.
oh my God, it was amazing. So, like, even our guests got into it, but like, I cannot tell you how many, and this is why we keep everything closed lip about the name of the place. How many like drinks I had to comp because somebody would miss or it would bounce off into somebody's drink or food. So I'm like,
Oh,
oh
how
my God. And
funny.
so like we'd have to go around and make another drink or do something. And I mean, obviously we still had a very successful evening financially, whatever. Like even the comps couldn't have slowed us down that night. Very busy, but I will say, like the entire evening, I think I, I left that job. I think like a year later, I ended up moving away, and I remember the GM just being like, "Gosh darn it, Claire! Like I am still finding those stupid Nerf ammo like a
Oh, how
year and a
funny.
half, like 3 years later." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm like so not sorry." Like, it was one of the best nights that I have had at my work in maybe ever. It was just such a fun time, and everybody got
I
into it. We
love
didn't,
that.
normally you'll have that one or two people that are just like, nah, no, I'm okay. Or this is stupid. And we didn't have a single person like that. Even our guests were so inviting about it. They're like, no way, you're having a Nerf gun war at work. And we're like, yes. So be prepared.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. So we probably had running that night, we probably had 20 people working that night, like on the floor.
Really?
Oh yeah. So it was just like I want to say 20, but maybe that's my old age misremembering. I bet you if I called up this Chris person, he'd tell me the real number. He has a really good memory. I do not. But yeah, just awesome times.
I mean, that is such a good experience.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I even think the people who the the ammo fell in their drinks, it was
Yes.
like they loved it.
Oh,
Because
I
like
would. Yeah.
I think that's just fun. You know what I mean? To see that
Hmm.
people working together have so much fun together that
Hmm.
it's like it like I bet that inspired other people to be like, "Oh, you got to work here." They are fun. You know what I mean? Like I think if there is like a there's like a um I don't know, like what, a tiered effect to that? Like it makes
Oh,
me
the
want to work
butterfly
at a place
effect.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, right? Like that's what I think of being a bartender is just having fun and being silly. Like
I
that's
mean,
why I
I can
think
tell
I
you, I have as many, if not more, terrible stories of being a bartender. And I think one of my favorite things, do you guys like anybody that has ever watched the show or the movie oh my god, what is it? Coyote Ugly? Is that
Yeah,
it?
I love that movie.
You know how they all get together after they're done bartending and they go by the way, never did that, didn't do dancing or anything, just bartended and yelled at people and had to clean up people puking in the bathrooms and send them home, stuff like that. But being with the staff, being with your colleagues, being with your coworkers, and going to we went to the Waffle House often on a Friday or Saturday night. We'd get together and we'd go to the Waffle House. And
Oh,
to this day, probably my favorite times were us sitting around at the Waffle House when, it's that drunkard 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody who's drunk is slowly getting out and we're arriving and we're at the end of our evening, but we're loud and we're having fun and we're talking about our evening and we're telling each other our war stories together.
yeah.
And we would, I just remember oh, how many times did you get told I want a Cuba Libre, no lime? And the joke of that is Cuba Libre is a rum and coke with a lime. So without the lime, well, then it's just a rum and coke. So
Yeah.
we would say things like, "Oh, so you want a rum and coke?" And these are young college kids, so they're like, "No, I want a Cuba Libre, just no lime." And you're like, "Oh God, yeah, okay." Like, or I want a seven and
Oh,
seven, but with well whiskey, and it's like, cool. So you want a whiskey seven? Like the seven is Seagram's seven, right?
oh, how
Like,
funny. That is funny.
yeah. So it's the things that bartenders typically we very much, and so when we're repeating something back to you, what we're doing is we're telling you how it's really said, or we're clarifying because otherwise we get yelled at, or I want my money back, or we don't want to make mistakes and waste, alcohol or mixer or the company's money. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really funny. Or just making fun of people that are like, I want a Red Bull vodka. And it's like, actually, it's usually the formality is liquor and then the mixer. So you
Yeah.
say the liquor and then the mixer. Yeah. Anyway, little
Oh,
things.
how
But we would
funny.
oh, we're writing a book of the stupidest things that we've done, that we've seen in our day as a bartender. And all of the things that oh man, we really wanted to do that.
I think I always thought that, just working in a job in general, there's so many
Mhm.
funny things that happen on a daily basis that it's like, where am I? You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like I always well, it actually brings me to my this is like a kind of a funny thing, but it's weird also.
hmm
At one of my first jobs, I worked at a bakery. And it was this super cute bakery, and we made sandwiches and had coffee and all of that, and we had pies and everything a bakery would have, right?
hmm
And at the end of the night, when I was on the night shift, you had to throw out all the pies and all the bread and everything
Seriously?
because the next day they wanted everything fresh.
Oh,
And
my
it would,
stomach, it just dropped thinking about that.
oh, it would drive me nuts. And so I
Yeah,
was like, can I just hook up with a local shelter and just give it to them?
absolutely. Okay, thanks.
And they were just like, no, you can't. And I'm like, okay,
Wait, why? Okay,
because
sure. Yep,
whatever,
moving on. Yeah.
there was whatever reason. So then I was like, okay. So every night I worked, I would put it by the trash can, like
But perfectly lined up.
all kind of stacked up.
Oh gosh,
And then I
that's
would
awesome.
just call a local shelter and be like, there's a ton of food back by the trash can. Go pick it up. Or
Yep.
even sometimes I would just throw it out like I'm supposed to, you know what I mean? And
hmm
then just drive my car around the back and pick it up and take it to shelter because I'm just like, that is such a
A
waste.
waste.
And it was good. Like it would still be good for like a week. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But for some reason they felt like they couldn't sell it the next day, but it would drive me nuts. And I would just always laugh because like if I couldn't find a shelter or this or that, I would like call my friends and I'd be like, pick up a pie for your mom.
There it is.
It's
Yep.
out by the trash can. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and I know that sounds so ghetto, but like,
Totally.
why not?
Why not?
Anyway.
All right. Well, that was our quick little hopefully it just made you laugh a couple times, you guys out there. I hope it made you think of some of the best times that you've had at your jobs, whichever job it was. If you're anything like me, you've probably had so many types of jobs. If you're anything like Heather, you've enjoyed nice long-term stints at the places you've worked. But one way or another, the idea is hopefully find that joy, right? Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us again today. We hope to see you again soon. We'll be back in a week and we'll talk about some more fun stuff. Probably a little bit more geared towards IO Psych this time. But
Yes.
thanks for being with us this time. Any last words, Heather?
Just have fun in life. I think
Yes.
that's
All right.
that's the last words.
Good deal. Thanks again and have a good one. We'll see you next week. Bye.